Menelik and Maureen weren't here, so I asked Julie if she would just present a little bit about what she talked about 2 weeks ago. And then also, she had a meeting, which David was, I think, part of as well, September 14th on recycling here in Connecticut. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie.
So I think what we talked about a little bit last time was the fact that we're right now in the midst, this is probably a really good time because we're in the midst of a big change in terms of costs for recycling. Right now our current contract, I guess, has a tip fee. We get a credit of $5 a ton for our mixed recyclables, but we can anticipate that now turning into a cost. And the latest municipal contract that I'm aware of that's been entered into is Waterbury, which charges $55 a ton for disposing of recyclables. And so we all need to kind of be aware of where we are right now.
If they're incorrectly diverted or just...
No, this is recycling costs money now. So we had in January 2018 of last year, the vast majority of all of our materials in the United States, 4,000 shipping containers a day, would go to China. China would take that material and then they would get it down to its scrap. For plastics mostly, they would turn it into pellets and then it becomes new plastic materials. Well, the Chinese government in 2013 said they weren't going to do that anymore. They set a goal that if anything had a contamination level, plastics and paper have a contamination level above 0.3%, it was not going to be allowed into China. That was subsequently raised to 0.5%, so still half a percentage. And our recycling, as we saw last week, is at 20% or more. The U.S. average is 25% for contamination and recycling. And what this all means is this reality shock is going to be shown up in all of our to-be-negotiated contracts for managing recycling. And what it means is that $58 a ton we're paying to get rid of municipal solid waste is going to become more like what it's going to cost us for recycling. And in fact, we could probably expect the MSW rate to go up, right? David, no, it's going to be around the same. So
we keep it there.
It's going to be extremely difficult. On top of everything else we want to do to manage this, we have just a market reality that we need to deal with. The entire country is trying to come to grips with it. And what it means is we need to brace for a short-term reality and adjust our expectations for what it's going to cost, and we need to ride out a storm. The way this is going to get fixed is like any other market. Market investment will start to come to the United States. But you have to remember that we had a contamination level of 20 to 25%. And if we don't get that contamination level down, it's going to be really hard to open any facilities to process this material, given all of our air regulations, water regulations, etc. So we have a huge issue to deal with in terms of money. We're going to be waiting that out for a bit for infrastructure, and it means that education is probably more important now than it's ever been, because we need to clean up that the contamination level of our materials. And the only way we're going to do that is for households and consumers to really understand what they're doing with their recycling. And unfortunately, we've been well served with a 25% contamination rate. We were doing great with that, and it's a really quick faucet to turn off. And it means we need to come up with our education really needs to pick up pace with everything else. With regard to I was at a conference last Friday where basically we just had two reporters come in, industry reporters on waste, talking about how the rest of the country is dealing with this. This hit Oregon first. So, they were really the first state, Oregon and California, to get hit really hard with this. It means that basically everybody sees a backup of materials. It means that right now a lot of what's coming in and going off in our blue bin is not getting recycled. In a lot of cases right now, even in the state of Connecticut, that material is being put on a rail car and it's going to a landfill in Ohio, a landfill in Massachusetts, or a landfill in Pennsylvania. It's not being recycled. And I think that's something that, that's a real shock to a lot of people, and it's something that we need to consider in our work. What these folks were talking about basically was that everybody's in the same boat. We're all trying to figure it out, but it doesn't mean recycling's dead. It just means that we need to really step up our game with recycling, and it means that we're going we're gonna have to write out a course where we wait for investment opportunities to come into the private sector to really kind of come in and help us bridge that contamination problem along with education. So I think, I think that's about it, but I have slides here and I can send everybody through. David, I'll send you the link to it, it's posted. And it really just gives a very helpful timeline of everything that's happened with China.